Good evening, everybody. I love this energy, and it's a really serious topic for why we're here tonight. And I think it's really wonderful the way everybody here connects. And we're finding people knew each other that didn't know that they were going to show up here tonight, and new connections are already being formed. And so thank you, and thank you for being here. So I'm Jana Jones. I'm the president and CEO of the Family Institute at Northwestern University. And again, thank you for being with us tonight. I do want to offer a special thank you to our chair of the board, E.T. Franklin. E.T. is hosting all of us tonight here at this beautiful Arts Club of Chicago, so thank you. We're honored to be joined this evening by our alumna, Vienna Pharaon, licensed marriage and family therapist, and Dr. Nancy Burgoyne, our chief clinical officer. And really the evening is going to be for you to hear from both of them in just a few minutes. Before we begin, though, I'd like to recognize a group of individuals whose guidance and generosity are essential to our work: our board of directors, our past board members, and our life trustees. Your time, talent, and commitment really make evenings like this possible and so much more. So would you please stand, our board members, our life trustees, and our past board members. They do really hard work with us, and they also really enjoy working together, so it's really a treat. I'd also like to thank our generous sponsors, our event sponsor, the Make It Better Foundation, our hospitality sponsors, Blue Owl and Katie Lamb Hines and Bill Hines, and our book sponsors, Byline Bank, Global Group, and Dr. Horace Smith and Susan Smith. Thank you to our sponsors. At the Family Institute, our mission is to strengthen and heal individuals, couples, kids, adolescents, families from all walks of life. And we do that through clinical service, we do it through research, and we do it through education. And we believe that in deepening our understanding of relationships and family dynamics, whether they're present or in the past, in helping people deal with those relationships and strengthen them, we help them reduce distress, build resilience, and lead healthier lives. And part of our work is also to bring groups of people together like this around ideas so that we can all deepen our understanding about strong relationships. And we really do believe that when we invest in healthier relationships, we're also ultimately investing in our healthier communities. So it is now my pleasure to introduce Susan Noyes, founder and chief visionary officer of Make It Better Foundation and our event sponsor. Susan, thank you. You and your organization have partnered and supported us now for the past 3 years.
I second you. This is an amazing energy and group in the room. Jana, thank you for the kind introduction and this opportunity. And thanks to every single one of you for showing up and being here to support the Family Institute too. Your time and your presence is a powerful statement about your commitment to mental health, championing best practices, strengthening relationships, families, and communities too. I think my husband, Nick, and I found our way to the Family Institute not just 3 years ago, but 25 years ago, when we were dealing with the issues embedded in raising a large blended family on the North Shore. And when I started the Make It Better as a publication to support the best, most impactful causes on the North Shore, being honest storytelling around mental health challenges with as much humor as you could add to it was really important. For me, my perfectionist mothering ways might have led to some of those issues that led to working with the Family Institute. When we turned the Make It Better into a foundation 3 years ago that identified, supported, and promoted the most impactful nonprofits across the country in their space, including mental health. It was easy for the Make It Better Foundation to identify the Family Institute as one of them, alongside of the Yale University Center for Emotional Intelligence and the Greater Good Center in San Francisco. So we are all about the power of storytelling and social digital connection. And I love it. On the way up here, I met Walker Statler, who I guess is the handsome, soon-to-be son-in-law of a longtime board member. And I really encourage all of you to take the content that you see from tonight and share it as broadly as you can and add your own authentic story on top of that. That is helping the Family Institute grow connections, support across the country with all of your friends and alumni, et cetera. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan. It's now my pleasure to introduce tonight's speakers. Dr. Nancy Burgoyne is the Chief Clinical Officer at the Family Institute. She's a board-certified couple and family psychologist with more than 40 years of experience providing direct service to clients. Dr. Burgoyne is a faculty member in the Master of Science in Marriage and Family Therapy program at Northwestern and is a leader within the Family Institute. She created and leads our Clinical Practice Advisory Council and leads our Measurement-Informed Care practice. Dr. Burgoyne is committed to approaching each of her roles with cultural humility and believes that every human being is worthy of compassionate witnessing. And joining her in conversation is Vienna Pharaon, a licensed marriage and family therapist and one of New York City's most sought-after relationship therapists. She's practiced therapy for more than 20 years and is the founder of the group practice Mindful Marriage and Family Therapy. Vienna received her Master's of Science in Marriage and Family Therapy from the Family Institute at Northwestern University and trained extensively at our Betty D. Harris Family and Child Clinic. You'll find a signed copy of Vienna's national best-selling book, The Origins of You, on your seat. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Nancy Burgoyne and Vienna Pharaon.
I'm going to start. This is a good Can you hear me okay? Terrific. I want to take a minute to recognize some folks in this audience. We have some of our fabulous student therapists in this audience working right now in the Betty D. Harris Clinic. Can you raise your hand? Yeah! We love you. We also have a number of supervisors, including, if I'm not mistaken, one of your former supervisors here.
Where are you, Janet?
In the audience. Your group supervisor, go figure. So we are just so delighted and so grateful for you to sort of enter this conversation with us, and happy to have you here. So when I get a new book, the first thing that I do is I go to the reference section, because I'm going to see, where's this coming from? Where's Vienna taking us here? And it was really heartwarming and reassuring to see the incredible, theoretically grounded work, scientifically informed practice guiding the insights in this book. And we know that we trained you well.
You trained me well.
We trained you well. So we knew that what we would be bringing today would represent a long tradition in behavioral health, in psychiatry, in psychology, but you are a gifted translator. You are a gifted translator. It is not easy to take those big, hefty ideas and studies and all of that and move it into accessible, relatable, modern language. And you've done that so incredibly well. I really respect that.
Thank you.
So can you start us off a little bit, like, how did this get going for you? What's your personal professional journey because they're always woven, especially with us therapists.
Yeah.
They're always woven.
Okay, we'll take a little bit of the long route.
Okay, we'll take the long
I'll
route.
start you in 7th grade when I took an aptitude test which said that I should either be a marriage therapist or a sports psychologist. And then I, meandered my way through life a bit and got a psychology degree. So I was one of the people, where the friends come to you for relationship advice kind of all the way through, which I think a lot of therapists are I was the friend who everybody came to talk about the relationship stuff. So I was that. But I went to undergrad and I graduated with a degree in psychology and a boyfriend who lived in Chicago. So I'm on the computer and I'm like, okay, how can I get myself to Chicago? In what way does this make sense? And I stumbled upon Northwestern's program in marriage and family therapy. A boy got me here. And it's so funny. I had sent in everything to the program, or so I thought, and I hadn't heard. So I call up one day. I'm like, hey, how's the application process going? And they're like, oh, we haven't reviewed your application because it's incomplete. I'm like, what do you mean it's incomplete? Apparently undergrad hadn't sent the transcript. They're like, it's almost full. Like, can I please send it? Yes, you can send it. I get a call a couple days later. We'd like to interview you. I was on my senior trip when I had to do the interview.
Oh,
You can only imagine.
that's right.
I do the interview, I get accepted, boyfriend breaks up with me. And I'm like, I'm going to Chicago. I thought I was going for this guy. And so I arrived. And, I'm so grateful. I'm not just saying this. To go into school to become a therapist obviously is an education, but it really is many years of your own personal therapeutic work. I know the students know this, right? Right? It's like you feel like you are in deep therapeutic work as you dive into all of this stuff. And I was 21 when I started at TFI.
Which is so young.
It's so young.
It is.
And I, my professors, advisors, supervisors, everyone, bless them, because I really understood, this concept makes sense. When I went online to read about the mission and the belief system of TFI, I was like, yeah, I get this. This lines up with the way that I think. We are affected by the systems we grow up in, et cetera, et cetera. Makes all the perfect sense for everyone else but me. I'm the exception. My parents went through a 9-year divorce process that started when I was in 1st grade. And when I started grad school, I said, it didn't affect me at all. I'm good, I'm fine. They are friends now, which was true. And we do holidays together and they drive in the same vehicle together. All is okay. There's nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here.
Oh, and I gripped onto that for a really long time. So my journey, it's the education, it's the professional. I could lead people only so far in the clinical work because I still had so much resistance to being able to say that I was affected by something that happened in my past, and that something in my past might still be leading my life in some ways that I didn't quite recognize today. And it took, a moment in a relationship that kind of brought me to my knees to really come into contact with it and start to let myself feel. But then the need for me to be fine and for everything to be okay was because I just didn't know how to be with pain.
Yeah.
And I needed to just stay as far away from it and pretend like everything was fine, because the idea of having to feel, right, as basic as that might sound, the idea of having to feel, I didn't know how to do that. My whole life was spent avoiding it and sidestepping it and just being good at sports or good at violin or good at this. That was my adaptation. Get good at everything, pretend like everything's fine, and as long as I'm good, I don't have to look at what's crashing and burning over here. And so, it was as it is, we therapists get into the field of therapy, whether we know it or not, to resolve that which is unresolved in our own lives. I didn't know it at the time. I learned it later, and I'm so grateful. And I'm so grateful that the support I just think about my supervisors, Janet, everybody else who's like, sweet girl, like you'll find your way one day, you know, and I did, you know, but it just didn't come until probably my like mid-late 20s. And then from there, it's like you can't unsee it.
You can't unsee it, and then it starts to unfold, and then it supports the work and supports you, and then there's that snowball effect. But that's kind of your premise, right? Is that what you're taking from your wounds, what you're taking from your family of origin, shows up again, and this is not an uncommon thought, but a really important thought that shows up again in your relationships, like it or not. Right? And so can you elaborate a little bit on that, sort of how those wounds show up, surprise us?
Well, the gal who was totally unaffected by her past found herself dating my now husband. And in probably the first year of our relationship, I remember we got into our first conflict. And as we always is the case, we don't kind of remember what the conflict itself was about. But I do remember that I couldn't stop proving my point and needing to be right. And I kept doubling down and tripling down and quadrupling down. But nothing here. I'm good. I'm fine. I'm not affected by anything from before. And, you know, in that moment, I remember having this out-of-body experience, kind of looking in at myself. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? He's saying everything's okay. He gets it. He understands. And I keep going. And I went into a bit of shame after the fact. You know, is this relationship going to end? Is he going to want to stay with me? What's going to happen here? But then I moved into a state of curiosity. Okay, what's the function of this behavior? Why do I need to be right? Why do I need to prove my point at all costs? So if we rewind, what I would call it, as I do in the book, is a safety wound. I grew up, as I mentioned already, my parents went through this horrible divorce that was really dragged out. And my dad was somebody who was quite manipulative, and he gaslit, and he was really quick with his words, and he was masterful. And as an only child, I remember watching them engage this way. And when I looked back, I realized that because he could be right always, I slotted that into a space that said being right meant safety, and being wrong meant unsafety, lack of safety, right? Because my mom just couldn't keep up with the masterfulness of all the places that he would go. And it was really hard to watch the end result product of what that did to her. And so being right meant I'm safe. Being wrong means, danger. And so fast forward back to this relationship, I have no idea what the conflict is about, but I could gather that we probably disagreed on something. And so you're telling me that I'm wrong. And my nervous system is saying, that's dangerous. That is a red light going off. The alarm is sounding because it is familiar enough that's saying, is this guy gonna play you like that? You know, what's gonna happen here? And it was so important, right, to understand, because otherwise it's really easy to become critical of yourself.
It sure is.
Right, because you're so ashamed. I think all of us have a behavior that we can engage in sometimes from time to time where you're like, oh, yeah, like, that's not great. You know, I like that part of me I'm a bit ashamed of. I didn't like that part. It was awful to be somebody who, gotta prove my point, gotta be right. Like, that's not lovely to be around. And I knew it. But I think when we move from a place of self-criticism and shame to a place of curiosity, to a place of grace, and that also means ownership and responsibility and accountability, right? I think self-love is the intersection of those things. But when we can go to that space, then we connect with context. Context isn't an excuse, but it is a bridge to understanding oneself and understanding your partner. And so, yes, right, the wounds from the past, right, this thing that I watched and observed and experienced and lived through over and over and over again was something that was informing how I was engaging in my intimate relationships, how I was moving through life. And I really needed to learn that lesson.
Yeah, and you define for yourself sort of this discrete event. You look at the divorce, you look at your dad, you look at your parents' interactions and what you were observing. I'm thinking for a lot of folks, perhaps, that some of what shapes them may be less sort of a nodal moment, than sort of a pattern they observe, things that happen to them throughout their lives. How do people start to get that awareness of that nervous system reaction that you pointed to? That's the cue. That's like, okay, what's going on with me here? What am I bringing into the space?
It's such a good point. I think some folks do have the really obvious part of the story where you're like, oh yeah, it's that. Like I know that. But then there's so many of us where it's just that chronic kind of quieter
drip.
Yeah, exactly. Your reactivity is a really good indicator for where your wounds might be. Our activation, maybe you've heard people talk about activation or triggers.
Yeah.
Right? It's like when you notice yourself getting a bit hot, like that's going to point us to something that needs our attention.
What throws you out of your window of tolerance?
That's right.
What makes you either go up or check out?
Yeah.
Right? It seems like it's going to be one or the other. You're gonna go high and you're gonna get super activated, or you're gonna disappear.
Right. I don't want to be here anymore.
I don't want to be here
This
anymore.
is no longer safe for me.
Right.
And so my safety is either in getting louder,
Yes.
right? Going into that fight space, or fleeing,
Getting
freezing.
easy.
Yeah. Fawning.
Right. Getting easy, checking out. So it's the invitation to ask ourselves, what do we notice? When we scan our experiences and our relationships, what do we notice?
I love the question of what is familiar about this, right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be apples to apples, right? Like sometimes people are like, well, it's not exactly that. Yeah, it doesn't need to be exactly the thing that you experienced, but that there's a flavoring, right? That there is a familiarity here. And I'm like, I kind of know this thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think in the, I name 5 wounds in the book, which I think helps give language for people where you say, oh, maybe it is my worthiness wound, right? If I struggle to feel worthy, if I struggle to feel good enough, if I struggle to feel valuable, if I'm somebody who needs to be a perfectionist or a performer or a pleaser or the comic relief in order to get love, connection, intimacy, presence, validation, etc., right? Like those are the things that pull us in to say, okay, right, maybe I did grow up in a family system where I learned that I needed straight A's and I needed to score a hat trick and I needed to be perfect in order to have calm and presence in my home. And if I didn't do those things, that was taken away. Right? And so it might look okay from the outside looking in, straight A's, great athlete, right, et cetera, right? But what did I trade?
What did I trade?
So yes, we're looking for that activation. We're looking for the unwanted patterns in our lives as adults. Like, what's the thing that you keep saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to fight with you this way. I don't want to not have a loose boundary over here. But then when it's time to do it differently, we struggle. That's a place to look. Right? I know I want to do it differently. I am so aware of this. This is the path I want to take. But then when I'm in it, it all shuts down. Right? Like it looks a lot different. One thing that I do want to say, though, is that when we go into these spaces, instead of getting hard on ourselves, I love the reframe for dysregulation. As being active self-protection. Whenever we are dysregulated, we get hot, we disappear, everything that Nancy's talking about. When we go into that space, we are just entering into active self-protection. You are protecting yourself from something that your system has decided is unsafe for you. That's a beautiful gift. Now, we don't want to stay there. Like, if I continue to be somebody who needs to prove my point and be right in my marriage over and over and over again, that marriage is not going to work out very well, right? So we have to do this work. That's the invitation. I mean, it's why all the therapists in this room, do this work, because yes, let's understand the context. Let's hold it with care and curiosity and compassion. And also, we want to create change in our
Yeah.
lives so that we can have healthy, functional relationships.
That's worth a moment, right? Because it's a poignant thing to sort of realize that what you're doing in protecting yourself represents a wound, represents a source of pain, represents something. I think if you can muster that tenderness, like when you're talking, I feel that tenderness. If you can muster that tenderness for yourself, then you have these opportunities to re-enter the conversation.
That's right. Oh, I've become so hot and angry because I feel deprioritized in this moment.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, I feel so far away. I want to disappear from this because I picked up on something that feels like betrayal.
Yeah.
Right? It's noticing those things so that we can enter back into a conversation or enter back into with self, as you're describing, to just get to know this part a little bit differently and more.
It's so hard to just start noticing those things. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. And I think, I'm curious, as a relational therapist, do you feel like it's a two-step dance that folks need to do a little bit of individual work? Mm-hmm. And they can do it in the context of relational work, certainly. But it seems like just a really challenging thing to, on your own. I mean, your book is great. And by the way, there's a very cool online quiz and tool, so you could use that to help you. To sort of turn to yourself and to be able to identify that on your own. It seems like having help and support to help you identify those wounds is going to give you a leg up.
The individual work is really powerful. And of course, we are relational supporters. We love having multiple people in the room. And sometimes when we're early in this work, there is a lot of value to being able to place down the other person for a moment and just be and pick up your own self. Yeah. Because when we are relational, it's like, okay, I'm thinking about my history and how I grew up and all of those things. And I'm also simultaneously trying to think about how you grew up and your wounds and all that. And that can get complicated. And there's a lot to it. So yes, that dance of individual and relational work is,
yeah,
it's puzzle pieces.
It's puzzle pieces. So can you talk a little bit about this pivot? You have this really nice way of talking about when you're finding yourself in this space, in an experience with a partner potentially, or a friend, or anyone, and you sense that activation, and you perhaps you're fortunate enough to recognize what it's about. You sort of map out a little bit of try this kind of thing.
So the trying this is what my 20-something-year-old self would have hated, because that work is about witnessing your pain and allowing for grief to be there. Yeah. There's a lot of loss that happens as we move through life and we go through hard moments, and maybe we don't go through those hard moments well. And so there is a practice of needing to make contact with the pain. Yeah. And letting that authentic expression of emotion, whatever that looks like, there's no right or wrong way to do it, but letting that authentic expression of emotion be there. Mm-hmm. I feel like probably many people in this room grew up with if you're angry, count to 10.
Yeah.
You're like, and then what?
And then what?
Cool. What do we do?
I'm still mad.
I'm still pissed.
Even more mad.
The pause,
yes,
is actually so important, right? Now, it might not look like only counting to 10, because yes, we might still be angry and we don't feel like we have direction there. But the pause is really important. And I actually think when we do this work intentionally, we wind up, like the byproduct is that we expand the pause between that. The quote has been attributed to Viktor Frankl of like between stimulus and response, there is a pause. Between that activation and what you do in response to it, we need to expand that space, because how quickly do we tend to react when the activation happens? usually quite fast. When we do this work intentionally, the byproduct is that it grows the space between. When we understand that, oh, this sensation that's happening here, oh, I know what that is. I think Nancy and Vienna talked about that thing called dysregulation. Oh, I'm just moving into a space of self-protection. Oh, and I think they said, should I get curious about it? I should get curious about it.
What the heck?
And then I get curious about it, and I try to understand the context that's playing out in this moment. When that pause gets expanded, it moves us into a place where we get to choose how we re-enter. I like to define healing as the shift from survival to choice. And so our goal is to get to a place where we are choosing. We are in the driver's seat, where I am anchored in here. I am aware of all the things that are happening, and I am choosing how I'm going to engage in this next moment. And when we do that, we get to choose differently.
Yeah.
Right? That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, it gives
and
you
it's,
a ton of
it's
freedom.
hard. Like, please know that everything that we're talking about here is not an easy thing to do. But every time that we practice this, every time that we do it ever so slightly differently, you are collecting a data point for yourself that says, oh, it can be this way. It doesn't have to be that way. Right? And as we have more and more disconfirming experiences that say, yeah, it doesn't have to be this way. You can do it slightly differently. Over and over and over again, it builds a new way of engaging. Now, it's not going to be perfect. I still prove my point sometimes. Like, it's going to happen, but I am aware of it, and I get back to my repair much sooner.
Yeah, makes sense. I like you framing it as a practice.
It has to
Right,
be.
because it's in the return, right? We know this from all kinds of traditions. It's in the return, the coming back to it. And can you sort of give an illustration of how in a couple's relationship you might establish with your partner, we're gonna bake in these pauses. You know, we're gonna be intentional about when we find ourselves in self-protection mode. We're gonna bake that in.
Well, we do not make the rules when we're in the conflict.
Correct.
It does not go very well when you're heated and you're like, we got to pause right now. Like,
Unless you're a
we won't.
therapist, then you stop action and you tell everybody what to do.
Tell us more, Nancy.
It works very well. Yeah.
To create the rules, if you will, outside of conflict, right? To really talk about this when you're not in the moment. How do we want to try to do this differently? And again, when you're in the moment, you might say, screw that.
Yeah.
But at least we are naming what we want it to look like, trying to hold ourselves accountable. One of my favorite tools is recording a voice memo when you are in a great place. Like when you are the happiest you could possibly be with your partner, it's all is good, where the love is there. You're like, this person loves me and I love this person, right? And recording a voice memo that speaks to the moment where you know it all goes wrong. So that when you take your pause and you go for your walk, you go out into nature, you move your body, whatever it is that you wind up doing, that you can listen to this person who loves you and cares about you and wants to return to you. But you listen to their grounded, anchored, loving voice saying, hey, I know we're clearly in this moment right now, but I just want to let you know that I love you. I'm going to try to do my work and understand the context and all this stuff. I'm going to come back into this conversation a little bit differently, but just know that I care about you. And I love to be able to hear the version of your human who loves you in the moment where you're questioning why you even with the person
exactly.
But like there is actually something really profoundly beautiful about hearing that voice that says, oh, we're here again, I know. And we're going to get through it. We just need to take our time. Here's the agreement that we have, but we're going to return. And so that's a favorite tool of mine.
That's so poetic and so much better than can I just have a do-over?
That's a good one too.
Can I have a
Can we
do-over?
restart?
I messed that up. Can I do that again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reset button.
I like yours better. I'm going to try that next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So record that for each other.
Yeah.
When you're just loving on each other. It's a really beautiful tool. Now, what you do with that tool when you're listening, oh, screw you, I don't believe it. It's like, try to receive it to the best of your ability.
Well, there's something about walking away with a thought about being intentional about inserting the pause. I mean, I know I'm harping on this, but I feel like it's such a great opportunity, you know, for people to think about those moments where it goes south for them.
Yes.
And walking away with something intentional about inserting something so that you can move into another space with someone. It's a tremendous gift.
What we know is that you cannot repair when you're dysregulated.
Right.
Period. Many have tried.
Many have tried.
Many have tried.
Many
it
tried.
Doesn't work.
No.
So waiting up until 6 a.m, we're going to make it through. We're going to find, if you are dysregulated, it's done. You can't come back into repair from that place. And so you must take the pause. You must utilize a tool to help bring you back into the space so that you can do it differently.
How much do you feel is helpful for couples in particular to sort of know about one another's wounds so that if their partner's activated and they're in self-protection mode, they have some insight?
Huge.
Yeah, makes
I
a
think
big
it's one of the most beautiful gifts to get curious about your partner's story.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've done this before, where you ask, partner A to, have you ever thought of your partner as a little human?
Yeah.
Like we see this adult in front of us with all the things that they do that just irk us. And we forget that they were a tiny human who grew up in a flawed family system, right, where they experienced pain and they were learning how to survive and adapt through it all. And then here they are in front of you. And if you only look at the person in front of you, you are missing so much. And I know it's hard to be like, tell me about all of your history. Like sometimes I'm like, do I want to know the history? Like, do I want to know your past relationships and all of that? But my goodness, to only see the human in front of you today, sliver.
Yeah.
To be brave enough to see the whole human and their story, the complexity to their story, that is a loving act. It is a relational act.
Yes.
And we are all about relational acts. Everything that we do is a relational stance. It's what we keep coming back to. And so if I only know you and see you in this moment, or however many years we've been together, then I am avoiding a huge part of what makes you you.
So how do you enter into that knowing and honoring without turning into your partner's therapist, your partner's parent, your partner's? How do you navigate that?
You hire a therapist from the Family Institute.
I think you're right.
She sent it. I slammed. We did it.
Just how does that happen?
That's it. We donate. All of the things. Yes.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
You do.
Yeah. I mean, but that's why
You recruit help.
It's why we recruit help. It's why there's a third person in the room. How many times any therapist in the room tonight knows that the couple comes in for the first session, the first time, and you just say the thing ever so slightly, and partner B goes, yeah, that makes so much sense. And partner A goes, I've literally been saying that for the last decade. Like, how is this a thing? And that's why there's a third person in the room. That's why there's somebody in there that's translating, that is moving these pieces around with you, for you, in this beautiful way. So it is complicated to try to do it on your own if you have no clue what you're doing.
It is.
And it's also complicated to do it if you do know what you're doing.
It sure is.
Right? Like, we have
sure is.
We have all the same conflicts that
All of them.
Everybody who's not
Sad
a
but
therapist
true.
has, right? So, it's maybe we're quicker to repair.
Yeah.
It's like we're aware of all of those things, but yeah, we ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah. We ask for help. Good advice. Good advice. So I'm thinking about the kinds of things that get in the way, right? I'm thinking about in the MFT program, we call it constraints, right? The things that make it hard for us to think about this work, to think about entering into looking at our wounds, to think about our partners from this point of view. And the list is long.
The list is long.
The list is long.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, my constraint was I didn't want to feel because I thought it would be too overwhelming.
Yeah.
We are afraid of opening up Pandora's box. This is a good moment for me to acknowledge, when I started grad school, I was single. I didn't have children. I now have 2 kids. And so when we talk about this, how many people in the room have children? Yeah. When we talk about this, we're not just talking about you as a human who grew up in a family system. There's also that tenderness of, oh, okay, I was the adult in this family system, and we're also talking about our children. Like I think about what wounds are my kids going to say, you wrote the book.
Right.
And we still have, we still did it. And so I just want to name that because there is a real tenderness, right, to think about it from both angles, right? But right, it's like, do I want to touch the pain? Am I opening up Pandora's box? What am I going to find there? They did the best that they could. I don't want to be ungrateful. They were much better than their parents were to them, right? Like,
I think about the loyalty.
Loyalty
right? I think
piece.
about loyalty to your family, loyalty to your parents, loyalty to your story, to your history, and all that folks have went through, and the sense of feeling small or petty, to be naming things and somehow blaming.
And so-and-so has it way worse than
and,
I do.
and little wound comparison action there.
Right.
You
Like,
know?
who am I to complain about my life because I know a friend who has this horrific story?
Right.
And, I think what you'll see in the book is that our goal is not to throw anybody under the bus, and this isn't about becoming disloyal. This is simply about acknowledging you and your story and your pain. And we don't have to hate someone to acknowledge something. We don't have to be disloyal to name something. Okay? And so I know that is a fine line to walk sometimes.
It is.
But that's the invitation, is that it doesn't have to be that in order to make contact with what your story holds. And our ability to make contact with what your story holds becomes the gateway to healing.
It's a famous family therapy line is that it's too big for blame. Right? That there's these transgenerational patterns. There are cultural and historical forces. There are so many things that conspire to land us where we are. And if we get involved in blame and pointing, then that gets in the way of us. That's another way to avoid sort of looking at your own stuff, looking at your own pain, making contact with it. But boy, that's a big one. When folks sit in front of me, they're like, you're pointing to this, but when you point to that, it makes me feel this way about myself. It's a big constraint. What else do you, when you see lots and lots of couples in the room, when you're trying to move them into this space of looking at their own pain and their self-protection, what do you find, in the space, makes it most challenging?
Now there's more ease because people know what they're walking into.
Okay.
So it has shifted tremendously. Because people who want to work with me, they're like, I know what you're about.
Right.
I've read your material, or I've been following you for a long time. And so there's less resistance. But we do go at the pace. I've had so many people walk in the door, they're like, it was great. Okay. Like, we're not going to sit there and be like, no, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Who did the heart? You know, it's like, that's not it. But it's so beautiful to watch it unfold, whether it's 3 months later or 6 months later or 4 years later, where they're like, actually, here's the thing that happened. Or they say a thing that's been so normalized.
Yes. That
You know how
stood
you
out
thought
in the
your
book.
family was totally normal until you went to your friend's house and you're like,
Yes.
oh, you guys do it this way?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
It's like, this is what we know.
Yeah.
Right? And so, yes, it's sometimes they share something, you're like, oh, that's interesting. You know, like,
Interesting. Yeah.
was that like
People
this?
don't scream in your house?
Right.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. People scream in my house. I didn't know that at other houses.
You didn't
people
have
don't
to make
scream.
breakfast for yourself at 4?
You didn't? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I appreciated in the book how you walked some of the clients in the book through their process, you know, and really honoring people unfolding and giving themselves the space to do that in a generous and a patient way. So I think that's a useful thing for people to recognize.
I think, well, we were talking about the value of storytelling. And sometimes we need to read it or watch it and see somebody else's story. No, not me.
Yeah.
But then you start reading somebody's story and then you see, oh, me, or oh, my partner. And the wall is a bit down. And so my hope is that when you read this book, you know, that you find yourself or someone you love on the pages. And maybe that's going to speak back to you, even if there's, like, I'm not sure where to start, or what is my wound, or I don't know if this is for me.
Yeah.
But I think storytelling is one of the most beautiful gateways to this.
It's a nice entree into the work. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So I'm thinking about a lot of things that, a lot of myths, right, that come our way in the land of relationships, and a lot of things that we're taught is sort of what's true in a relationship. We've got some of these little true-false actions.
Okay.
That I thought that I got a kick out of when I was reading them, and also looking. You do some fun stuff on your Instagram in the land of sharing some of these ideas. And so Vienna, should we never go to bed mad at our partner?
What did we all learn today? Let's see if we're good listeners. Yeah, sometimes we have to go to bed upset. And I know that is a hard one because we go to our worst case scenario, like what if they don't wake up, you know, all of that. No, it's why people want to resolve. It's like the worst thing, okay? But if you cannot come back into regulation, you see how many people are like, see, she said we can go to bed angry.
They're like,
I've divided the room tonight. Okay,
That's right.
So don't use this as the get out of jail free card. Try first, and if it still isn't working, okay? But yeah, if we're dysregulated, if we cannot come back into regulation, it's 2:30 in the morning, please go to sleep. Please go to sleep, because you're not gonna get anywhere better at 3:30 in the morning. It's not gonna work. So, but don't tap out because of this conversation, okay? We're watching you all.
That's the thing. You got to figure out how to tap out and plan to tap back in.
That's right.
That's not an easy thing to do. All right, how about, you know, if you're being a good communicator, you are always completely honest. Completely.
There you have it. There's your answer.
Always. Speak the truth.
You don't need anything from me.
Yeah,
That's it.
right.
No, and we also know whenever we hear those absolutes, they're never true.
Right.
Giving you an absolute back, right?
Correct.
But right, no, just because you're a good communicator does not mean that you are being honest or truthful, or that there isn't any place that you are going astray.
There's something about this. I mean, we're posing it humorously.
Yes.
But this is a dilemma for folks, right? You want to operate with integrity in your relationships. You want to lead with honesty. You want to say something that feels true and represents you. And And at the same time, that can be weaponized. That can be a form of arrogance.
Sure.
So I'm trying to think about that a little bit more subtly.
I think, Allie, maybe I'm getting this wrong, but I feel like you had a post long ago about brutal honesty. Yeah, right? And that's what this makes me think of, which is, do we need to be brutal? Like, could we be kind and honest? Can we stay relational and honest, which I think is what you're getting to.
Correct.
Right, is that I'm being honest, and here's what you need to hear, and that's what it is. But am I taking into account the way that these words maybe are landing for you? And that's not an invitation to, tiptoe around a person, but can I care about you when I am sharing what I need to share? Can I think about the way that this is going to land for you, even if I'm going to be honest here and tell you what's actually going on for me?
Yeah.
Can I do both simultaneously? And I think we can. I think when we do this work, we can. But yes, when we sort of swing that pendulum to one side of like, I'm going to be honest, and you need to be able to receive that honesty, no matter how that honesty gets sliced, that's going to divide, and it breaks connection and contact relationally. Our goal always, I think, is to try to deliver things in a way that allows for contact to stay. Breaking contact, somebody becomes defensive, somebody goes on the attack, somebody becomes critical, somebody shuts down. If I'm going to say something that I know is going to create that, I have moved out of being relational. So guess what? Being in relationship is work. There's some heavy lifting there. I am thinking about me as much as I am thinking about you, and vice versa. I'm caring about me as much as I am caring about you, and vice versa. That has to be there in order for us to keep contact with one another. Because otherwise, the divide, it just splits it.
Yeah, I want to stay in this for a minute. The sort of the keeping in contact in the context of conflict.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out how to stay in something when you are being pulled back, and this is going back to where we were, deliberately, being pulled into self-protection, being pulled into, I can't do this, I can't be here, I need to retreat to how I usually cope, and yet I'm trying to figure out how to do that and stay in contact with you at the same time. This is the dance. This is the pivot. This is the two-step.
And I think a lot of times it starts with, I actually need to break contact first, go figure out some stuff, then repair and come back into contact. And then we do it again. Practice, practice, practice. We all practice things. We practice a lot of skills, right? Repetition, the muscle gets stronger, but we don't practice these skills a lot.
Yeah, we
right?
don't.
It's like it's just not something for most people that is really embedded in their childhoods and how they move through life. And so this is a skill set. This is a muscle that you are strengthening over time, data point by data point by data point. And you are building it. And you might need hundreds. You might need thousands. We don't know how many any of us needs in order to get to that place where I don't have to disconnect from you in order to get through this. I can stay here with you and we can get through this. One of my favorite definitions of secure relationship is from a friend and colleague, Dewey Freeman, and he says, secure relationship, healthy relationship is about going through a hard thing, remaining in contact, and coming out the other side okay. That's the goal.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. I don't have to disconnect from you through this hard moment.
Yeah.
Right? And I do think the majority of us need to start. We probably do start disconnecting in those hard moments first. Like we don't just snap our fingers or attend something like this and you're like, okay, I'm implementing it and it's great. But it's that commitment to the practice of doing this over and over and over again so that your nervous system builds the belief and the safety and the trust in, oh, like, honestly, when I think about my relationship, and I think about the beginning when we would go through a hard moment, like, oh gosh, what's going to happen? You know, like, is he going to be upset? Is he going to leave? Da, da, da. And now, 10 years in, we go through a hard moment. I'm like, see you in a few. You know, it's like you
Right.
know, there's no part of me that thinks, oh,
that was it.
and that's such a beautiful. It doesn't remove the hard moments.
Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't remove that we will go through hard moments for the rest of our lives together. We will face plenty of hard together.
Yeah.
But this many years in and doing this dance together, like, okay, we're good.
We're good.
Like, I'll see you, like, we'll get to the other side.
Yeah. Creating that confidence that you can get to the other side allows you to enter into that.
That's right.
Into that in a different way. Yeah. That's fun. Yeah.
That's fun.
It is.
Said Nancy Burgoyne.
It is. I think it's fun. Do you think your partner needs to be your best friend?
I think we need to have best friends outside of our partner. And I also think outside of myself, my partner knows me the best.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because there's a lot of sort of debate about that. You know, it's like, does my husband or my wife or my partner, do they need to be my best friend in order for this relationship to work? And that seems like I don't know, like maybe a little bit of a setup, if you ask me.
I think I really want to like you a lot.
Yeah, I want to like you a lot.
I want to really, really like you. But as Esther would say, right, like the partner is your best friend and your confidant and you're this and your lover and you're this. And like, I expect you to do it all. Yeah. And I think that's maybe what you're describing as the setup.
Yeah.
That we can't do it all for each other. And we need to have other community. And so I want to have many dear friends, and maybe it's how do we define what a best friend is, and maybe people define it differently. But I want to really, really like you on top of loving you. But I want to really, really like you. Yeah. And I want to be really known by you and know you really well. But does that make you my best friend? Like, nah. I think it's a distinction, though. There's a distinction in there because I think there's, especially if you're young and you're thinking about partnering, you kind of get these like, it needs to be this, 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 and it kind of sets people up, I think. Yeah. You want to set people up for a process that's going to keep them in contact with one another rather than sort of this list of do's and don'ts is what I'm taking from your book. Right. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So one of the points that you made in the book that I found very moving was you said, you know, your life isn't out to get you. And sometimes it kind of feels like that, especially when you enter into this kind of a space when you turn and you look to some wounds and things that have gotten in your way, and they keep showing up in your relationships, and they keep seeming to undermine your relationships, and you're not getting what you want. And it can kind of feel like, why does it keep doing this? Why does it keep doing this? Is my life kind of out to get me? When can I sort of take the next step? And you talk about this really thoughtfully in the book. I think that if pain could speak to us, which it will if you'll listen, it would say, I am not out to get you, and I am not out to destroy your life, and I'm not out to irritate you or frustrate you by putting you back into this pattern over and over and over again, even though you wish for it to be different or you beg for it to be different. I think that if pain could speak, it would just say, I want your attention. I want your attention. And when you give me that attention, I can release my grip on you. Pain wants to be felt. As hard as that is for us sometimes, right? Pain wants to be acknowledged. It wants to be witnessed. It wants to be felt. It does not actually need you to linger there for a long time. You don't have to get stuck in that space, but it wants you to swivel your head and take a look at it and take a moment with it. Our pain from the past, you know, when we're little humans, most of us, just survived our way through whatever it was. We did not turn back around at pain at 5 and think, hey, like, let me witness you and grieve with you and like really spend time. That's not what we did. We survived it. We adapted. We found a path through. And I think sometimes when I just got to get on with life, and I want my life to look this way. Payne's like, hold on.
Yeah, it is.
Like, you don't get to just go live that life, this beautiful life over there, without taking a beat with me. Right? So can we all just turn towards it for a moment? You don't have to spend a long, long time there, but can you just spend a moment with it? Can you tip your hat to it? Can you be with it for a bit so that it can release the grip that it has on you? And really, we know this, is that when we do this work, life starts to change.
Yeah.
It really does.
There's a gift in the pain.
Yeah.
And I think that it's, you say that so well. And I think that I wanted to make sure to say that with warmth and with care. Because when you have a talk like this and you're inviting people to turn and look at a wound and to look at their pain, you have to sort of honor what you're saying, which is that the beauty and the gift and the release and the opportunity in that. So I really appreciate it. Yeah. Vienna, you are a gifted translator of big ideas. And we are so incredibly grateful and delighted that you have graced our stage.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Welcome back.
It's so
Welcome
good
back
to be back.
Yes.
Thank you. I started the program 19 years ago.
Wow.
Which is just so wild to me. And I said this when I did a workshop with the board, where it's like, my 21 to 3-year-old self would just feel like, wow. It's like, this is it's incredible to be back here. This program is just such a top tier program. I have a group practice in Manhattan, and many of the clinicians in the practice I hire from TFI, like, just because I know that the quality of the therapist is going to be excellent. And yeah, I just feel so grateful that I got to train here. They just throw you in, you're like, but it's like, but you learn on the job, and there's something because what other way is there to do it? It's like, it's really, really incredible. And so thank you to all of you for being here, and for your support for the program, because it really goes a long distance. And yeah, I'm just grateful to be here, and grateful to all of the people in this room who have really impacted me and supported me and, really shaped me into what I get to do today.
Well, we are proud of you, and we are so proud of all of you. And thank you, everybody, for coming tonight.
Before we leave, I just want to say a few words about this beautiful experience. Please join me in thanking Dr. Burgoyne and Viviana for such an engaging and thought-provoking conversation. I'm E.T. Franklin, board chair of the Family Institute, and thank you all for being here tonight and for supporting our organization. This session reminds me of a quote from Gordon Parks that speaks to the endurance and family legacy. For those of you who might not be familiar with him, Gordon Parks was a pioneering American photographer, filmmaker, author, and composer, renowned for documenting 20th century American life, specifically focusing on civil rights, poverty, and the Black experience. He understood also well both the gift and the challenge of family legacy. The quote, "I've known both misery and happiness, lived in so many different skins, wondering about what brought me to this particular place." Vienna's work enables each of us to take a closer look at our family legacy. In order to move forward, to become our best selves, we must consider and understand our past. Vienna has outlined an approach that enables us to better understand the components of our family legacy, so we surface our best selves and move forward with confidence and pride. As we recognize Mental Health Awareness Month, we are reminded that this work extends far beyond a single evening. It continues every day in the lives and relationships of those that we serve. As our time within session comes to a close, we hope you leave with something to carry forward into your conversations, your relationships, and your everyday lives. I'd like to invite you to consider making a gift in support of the Betty D. Harris Family and Child Clinic. Your generosity helps ensure that more than 1,200 individuals, couples, and families can have access to high-quality care, regardless of their ability to pay. We invite you to stay and continue the evening with us. Refreshments and hors d'oeuvres will continue to be served through 7:30, and you'll have the opportunity to meet with Vienna, who will be at our step and repeat adjacent to the back doors. We'll also keep raffle ticket sales open for a little while longer, with a drawing taking place just after 7 p.m., so there's still time to participate if you haven't already. And before we close, I'd like to remind our current and former board members to please join me up on stage for a quick photo. Thank you so much for all being here.